In times of hardship and war, burning through the ages of spring and autumn, the clash of good and evil, never ending in ups and downs, the beacon fire pours down the city, making it difficult for a dynasty to last for a long time. To dominate the world, what do the common people of Li seek? The battle of dragons in the world, with their swords broken and their swords parted, 6 realms sole sovereign, imperial extreme Xian Huang Tong divine universe. Keywords of the novel. Adversity. I am the crown prince in the Black Sea without a pop-up window. Adversity. I am the crown prince in the Black Sea. Download the complete text. Adversity. I am the crown prince in the Black Sea. Read the latest chapter. Chapter 1. The Rise of the Black Sea Forest Prison Controversy with the Establishment of the Crown Prince. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Rise of the Black Sea Forest Prison Controversy with the Establishment of the Crown Prince. The bottom of the Black Sea, the Silent Hell, the Black Sea Jaws, and the 13 levels of Hell are the unique and exotic land of suffering. It has been quite some time since the sky fire that occurred in the Black Sea hunting forest. The Black Sea Forest Prison has a tradition. After each reign of the King of Hell is established, the prophecy monument of the King of Black Moon will reveal the life and future glory of the King of Hell, including who to marry and how many children to have. However, the contemporary King of Hell, who befriended a woman of the human race, gave birth to the 19th son who did not exist in the prophecy. When the 19 sons were born, the black moonlight shone on the land of the Black Sea Forest Prison for 3 days, causing an environmental change. As a result, most of the species in the Black Sea Forest Prison died or were injured. The Black Sea Prophet prophesied that the 19 sons, who should not exist, would devour the remaining 18 sons when they met the 9-eating brother, until the royal vein disappeared. When the 19th son reached the 9th month of his life, the 18th Prince Xian Shao, whom the King of Hell loved the most, fell seriously ill and escaped life and death with a tin cup bestowed by the King of Hell. When the 19 princes turned 9 years old, they made an appointment to participate in a hunting competition in the Black Sea Forest. They did not intend to ignite a sudden fire, and 5 princes, including 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, all died. Under heavy public opinion, the King of Yen had to send his 19th son out of the Black Sea Forest Prison and imprison the human woman Yi Dongqing, who gave birth to her 19th son, in the eternal cold tree. Nowadays, the rumors about the 19 sons have long faded, and the Black Sea Forest Prison has been difficult to calm down for a period of time. Until today, in the Galo Hall, the literary and military officials of the Black Sea Forest Prison, as well as the princes, gather together to hear a decree that subverts the entire tradition of the Black Sea Forest Prison. I have made up my mind to confer the titles of Crown Prince Xian Bin, 4th Prince Xian Tong, 9th Prince Xian Mia, and 18th Prince Xian Shao, all of whom are tied for the position of Crown Prince. The high-ranking emperor spoke out his will with an indifferent tone, and upon hearing it, the entire court was mostly shocked. Only the Black Sea Forest Prison State Minister, who ranked first on the left, had a calm demeanor and clearly knew it long ago. King Yen, it's not possible. The 2 elders of the Black Sea Forest Prison, Left Prophet and Right Preceptor, both stood out and spoke out in opposition. In the tradition of the Forest Prison, there has always been only one Crown Prince, and the future Lord of the Forest Prison can only have one person. Please think twice. The Left Prophet and the Right Preceptor both bowed down and advised. The so-called tradition is not something that is stubborn and unchangeable. Each prince has his own strengths, but he also lacks merit. If he were appointed by me, it would be difficult for the people of the Black Sea Forest Prison to ignore it, and it would also be difficult to satisfy everyone's expectations. Yan Wang said coldly, "Today, I have appointed several princes in my book, and I also intend to select a true ruler to lead the Black Sea Forest Prison." The 2 prophets need not say much, Prime Minister. I am here. A golden and luxurious figure gracefully walked out of the queue, holding a golden jade WATE. The matter of the Crown Prince's fiefdom in the future will be handled by you. The candidates for the Crown Prince's fiefdom's political support can be listed as prime ministers. Xian Yuxia leads the imperial edict. Xian Yuxia hangs his head, arches his hand slightly, and in the eyes covered by the Hu board, there are thoughts that are difficult to understand. Seeing this situation, the left prophet and the right prophet had to return to the queue dejectedly. Although they were elders of the Black Sea Forest prison, their discourse power in the court was really limited, and the only thing they could refute was the word tradition. But the contemporary King of Hell is precisely the least traditional among all the King of Hell in history, otherwise he would not have interacted with human women and gave birth to anomalies that do not exist in prophecies at this moment. The court had also quieted down, and the King of Hell's gaze swept over the 13 princes one by one. Then he said calmly, "Today's discussion is over, let's withdraw." But seeing the Yen King brush his sleeves, the person had turned into a green smoke and disappeared. On the Galo Hall, the officials of the Black Sea Forest prison looked at each other, and after countless pairs of eyes met, they slowly withdrew from the Galo Hall with hidden thoughts. Great! The young prince with white hair and white robe was filled with joy. As the 18th prince, according to common sense, he should not have had the chance to hold the position of the King of Hell. However, the position of Crown Prince made his thoughts in his heart unable to be suppressed. This is the opportunity given to me by my father. He turned around and glanced at the already empty position of the King of Hell, his mind filled with his hopeful and loving gaze. Father, rest assured that Xian Shao will not disappoint you. The Crown Prince. The prince, dressed in a black robe and with a sinister expression, showed no signs of joy or anger, but gently wiped the crystal ball in his hand. With a large maternal clan as an arm, he had an advantage from the beginning that other princes did not possess. Big brother, fourth brother, 18th brother Zunmi silently pondered his opponent in his heart. The eldest brother had a weak temperament, while the fourth brother was obsessed with swords, only the 18th brother. Tisk, father, are you old and foolish? It's surprising that you haven't been appointed as the crown prince. A luxurious purple-clothed prince couldn't help but shudder. Although he was not interested in politics and had no interest in the position of King of Hell, he couldn't help but fight for justice for his closest brother. If he wasn't. All right, brother 6. The prince in a silver robe with green hair just calmly stopped his brother's next words. If I am not in my position, I will not plan for politics. Since the position of crown prince has nothing to do with me, I can also relieve myself of the responsibility for political affairs. Are you willing? Xuanli, just obeying his father's orders. Willing. How to be content. As the only prince among the 18 who had actual access to the core political affairs of the Dark Forest prison, how could Xuanli be willing to accept it? But if you're not willing, what can you do? From now on, close the door and practice swordsmanship. Even after leaving the Galo Hall, Xiantong still felt an inexplicable chill enveloping him. The elusive musky scent made him feel both addicted and disgusted. He didn't feel much different about being crowned as the crown prince. The aloofness, murderous intent, and occasional enthusiasm that seemed out of place in the eyes of the high-ranking person made Xiantong feel little warmth even when he was crowned as a prince. That position, just like that person, is so cold that there is no trace of human affection. Sword. He gently caressed the sword tied around his waist, and only then did he feel some safety. The people who were conferred the title of prince may be happy, sad, resentful, or have no intention of wandering. But none of this has much to do with him. As the eldest prince of the Black Sea Forest prison, he neither possesses the superb swordsmanship of his fourth brother Xiantong, nor does he have a huge maternal power to rely on like his 9th brother Zunmi, nor is he favored by his father like his 18th brother Xianshao. He, Xianbin, had nothing except for his useless status as the Grand Prince. As the Crown Prince, do I really deserve this position? In the courtyard, Xianbin looked at the white plum tree in front of him and even had a thought in his heart, if it weren't for this great prince, would it be even better? In a trance, but without realizing it, an evil light flashed in the white plum tree, and a crisis loomed. Who are you? End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Evil waves startle Dragon Marshal's residual body, responding to different souls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Evil waves startle Dragon Marshal's residual body, responding to different souls without self-perception. One becomes clear, without self-righteousness. One becomes clear, without self-destruction. One becomes meritorious, without arrogance. One becomes long. Only by not competing, can the world not compete with it. Pen, ink, paper, and inkstone are the four treasures of the study, but seeing a person holding a pen and writing a moral truth, holding and not arguing, in today's Black Sea Forest prison, it seems so out of place. I saw a person with blue hair, blue clothes, and a blue crown, with deep colors paired with luxurious attire. The whole person stood there, like the sea, deep and unpredictable. Time flies. It has been 3 months since Xian Bin was assassinated, and it has also been 3 months since he came to this world. 3 months ago, shortly after the King of Yen issued an edict to confer the titles of 4 princes, the eldest Prince Xian Bin was assassinated by a mysterious man in the garden behind his mansion, and his life was in danger. The King of Hell was furious, and after his courtiers forced the death of the 19th prince, he reappeared in the court with evil intent, causing fear throughout the forest and prison. But not only did the culprit not find a place, even the life of Crown Prince Xian Bin was gradually declining, and even the forest prison divine Dr. Feifei was helpless. At this moment, Yi Dongqing, who was imprisoned in the Yonghan tree, was released by the King of Yen and treated Crown Prince Xuanbin's injuries with the secret techniques of the Tianxiang ethnic group. There was much discussion among the court, but the King of Yen intervened and lifted Yi Dongqing's imprisonment, appointing him as the Black Empress and managing the harem. Under the treatment of Haihu, Crown Prince Xian Bin gradually improved, but he also suffered from leg disabilities, making this weak Crown Prince, who was not seen by court officials, even more vulnerable in future competition. But they all didn't know that after this disaster, the original Xian Bin had died, but now beneath his skin and flesh, he had already been replaced by the soul of another world. In his eyes, the future direction of the Black Sea Forest prison, including the predetermined fate of Crown Prince Xian Bin, was already clear. But it doesn't mean he has to accept such an ending. The towering King of Hell, although unfathomable and in control of everything, asked himself that with his advantage of foresight, he could never fail to take a chance. Moreover, what he possesses is not only limited to this. The plaque of the library floating in the sea of consciousness reads, Heavenly Way. Although only the first layer is open, the content inside has opened his eyes greatly. Whether it's ordinary poems, songs, and essays, collections of classics and histories, or the peerless classics and timeless secrets that everyone dreams of, the Heavenly Way Hall contains everything. If he can climb to higher levels in the future, glimpse the secrets of those experts in martial arts, and find ways to crack them, even if he cannot win, he can still stand invincible. In addition, the content of it is also his capital for gathering wings. This is the true reliance on which he established himself in this world. Who he used to be is no longer important. At this moment and here, only the Crown Prince Xian Bin of the Black Sea Forest prison, and only Xian Bin, are established in this world. Your Highness. At this moment, a deep voice came from outside the study, and with the permission of Xian Bin, the door was pushed in. I saw him with a leather mask and a blood demon double sword on his back. He was one of the 2 most powerful generals under Xian Bin's command, who was in a fierce and chaotic state. In addition to his brother's violent and panicked state, he was also Xian Bin's left arm and right arm. The 2 brothers were demoted to slavery for offending the powerful in the past. However, due to Xuanbin's momentary benevolence, they were brought under his command and stayed together ever since. Xian Bin was assassinated, and as a guard, he blamed himself the most for the violent chaos. He used a knife to tattoo his face, and with blood and injuries, he firmly recorded this shame. Later, on Xuanbin's advice, he put on a leather mask to cover the knife marks on his face. The person you invited has already been invited, roared the commotion. Do you want to bring it in now? Xian Bin nodded and put down his pen. Bring it in. Yes. When Rui Yangcua first met the Crown Prince of Mori Prison, who was at the center of the storm, he was calmly washing his pen. The Rui family was originally a prominent family in the Black Sea Forest Prison, famous for their mechanism skills. Rui Yangcua also became a courtier due to mechanism skills, and was a key figure in communication and connection between the court and the Rui family. Nevertheless, if Yi Yangcua was not highly valued by the king of Yen in the court, various princes would not be willing to get close to him due to the attitude of the king of Yen towards him. Therefore, upon hearing the invitation from Xian Bin, Yi Yangcua's first reaction was disbelief. Although the Crown Prince Xian Bin had a weak temperament and was now even more disabled, he was still a legitimate crown prince and one of the 4 princes. The reappearance of the evil appearance of the king of Yen in the court this time also demonstrates the weight of this great prince in the heart of the king of Yen. At least at this moment, if Yi Yangcua sees an opportunity to change his current destiny. If Lord Yi Yangcua, it's a pleasure to meet you. Xian Bin lifted his head and greeted the young man in front of him with blue eyes and a delicate face. Blue eyes are indeed intoxicating. No wonder people will dig out their eyes to make specimens in the future. If the Yi family and Xian Bin want to expand their power, they ultimately cannot bypass this Black Sea Forest Prison's first mechanism aristocratic family. But he also knows that it's not the time yet. What can be done at this moment is to establish a good relationship with someone in the Rui family, wait for the event that will bring dust to the Rui family in the future, and then use Rui Yangcua as the flag to gather the remnants of the Rui family. Grand Prince. Rui Yi Yangcua arched his hand slightly and said slowly, I'll call you Yangcua. I wonder why the Grand Prince called Yangcua here. Hey, Your Excellency is a vassal of the father's emperor. It would be impolite for Xian Bin to call him by his name directly. Why don't Xian Bin call you, sir, instead? Xian Bin said with a gentle expression on his face. If Yi Yangcua appeared anxious and fearful, he would say, Yangcua is inexperienced and inexperienced. How can he live up to this title? Sir, don't be constrained by these formalities, Xian Bin said. The invitation for Sir to come this time is due to something entrusted by Xian Bin. I hope you can approve. The Crown Prince's words are too heavy. Rui Yi Yangcua lowered his head a bit lower. If there is anything within Yangcua's ability, the Crown Prince can give orders as much as possible. At this point, it's simple to say. Previously, I was seriously ill and was treated with the secret method of the Tianxiang ethnic group by Lai He. Now that my injury has largely healed, it's natural for me to come to my door to express my gratitude. Xian Bin explained. However, it is inevitable to use gold, silver, and jewelry as a thank that you gift as a common practice. I have long heard that the Rui family's mechanisms and techniques are extremely skilled. Therefore, I would like to commission the Rui family to manufacture suitable items for use as a thank that you gift, and the cost should be borne by the free Xian Bin. I see, since the Crown Prince is filial, Yangcua will definitely do everything in his power. Please rest assured, Rui Yi Yangcua said loudly. Xian Bin, thank you, sir. With filial piety and propriety at the forefront, even if one contacts the Rui family, some rumors and gossip can be avoided. In the future, if one uses this as a reason to thank each other, the relationship with the Rui family can naturally be established. Next, we need to take a look at the actions of both of you on your side. Black Queen, Prime Minister. In the Baidu Baiki of Crown Prince Xuanbin's introduction about the Black Queen, it is mentioned that the Black Queen used Xian Bin to control the power of the Black Sea Forest Prison, secretly teamed up with the Wood Elves to harm Xian Bin, and then pretended to come forward for treatment. Based on the Baidu Baiki of Xian Bin, Haihu, Mujingling, and Yan Wang, it can be roughly inferred that Haihu collaborated with Mujingling to have Mujingling cast a spell on Xian Bin, and then Haihu lifted the seal to heal Xian Bin. This book adopts this setting. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Throwing stones into the forest and waiting for the transformation of the Great King Flag. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Throwing stones into the forest and waiting for the transformation of the Great King Flag. In the future Black Sea Forest Prison, the King of Hell was banned, and the transformed Yidongking, with the support of Qianyu Shavings, seized the power of Black Sea Forest Prison. Later, the passage between the Black Sea Forest Prison and the Suffering Realm was reopened at the sacrifice of 300,000 lives by the anti-Sea Chongfan. The 18th Prince Xian Shao, as the vanguard of the Black Sea Forest Prison, entered the Suffering Realm and engaged in a series of battles with the Daomen and Jingdao. At the same time, within the Black Sea Forest Prison, the 4 princes appointed by the King of Hell also conspired and plotted against each other due to their supreme position. 18 princes withered and half of them were defeated. After the battle between Emperor Xianbin and Black, they united a group of princes with the death of Emperor Xianshao and participated in the grand battle of various realms. However, the fact shows that everything has never escaped the control of the towering King of Hell, whether it is the clever and cunning Thousand Jade Fragments, the ruthless Black Queen, or the forlorn Xianbin who endured until the end. However, Xianbin was no longer the same Xianbin as before, and the known direction could only be used as his reference. However, this did not prevent him from looking forward to the cooperation between Haihu and Qianyuxi. At least based on known facts, although the cooperation between Empress Dowager He and Xianbin had some elements of utilization, it was generally pleasant. Xianbin also treated Empress Dowager He as her biological mother for a while, until she finally showed her obsession with the 19th prince, shattered the last bit of familial affection in Xianbin's heart, and embarked on a path of ruthlessness. Just like Yan Wang's evaluation of Xianbin, the desperation of the imperial family, Xianbin experienced more deeply, absolutely, and thoroughly than anyone else. As Xianbin, he did not want to follow the old path of the Grand Prince in history, so he chose to contact Rienkuo, but did not intend to use this chess piece like the Grand Prince did. In his view, the practice of Xianbin ordering Rienkuo to assassinate 19 sons was indeed a bit wasteful, and also indirectly demonstrated Xuanbin's immaturity at that time. After all, if Yi Yangcua's abilities are not mentioned, his identity as a member of the Rui family alone, as a prince, has great room for manipulation. And when the Rui family falls, even more so, Rui Yangcua can be used as a flag to secretly gather the members of the Rui family. It should be noted that Rui Zhiqiu, Rui Ningyu, and Rui Wenxiao are all temporary heroes. If they can fully gather their subordinates, coupled with the support of the Rui family's mechanisms and techniques. However, looking back, if the Yan King could be more normal, unite the various forces of the Black Sea Forest Prison, and be willing to operate slowly, instead of being obsessed with the elusive 3 Yang Same Heaven and the 6 Kings Opening Heaven, he would not be able to gradually divide and erode the suffering, and compete with the 3 cults and the righteous path. As a result, he insisted on walking alone. The 6 kings opened a 9 will heaven in a different realm, and he also ended up dead and losing his soul, laughing for the world. Thinking about what the King of Yen had done now, Xianbin felt ashamed. Your Highness. At this moment, a fierce and chaotic report came, the Prime Minister is visiting. The Prime Minister has 1,000 jade shards, and the Black Sea Forest Prison is undoubtedly the top official. He is a trusted confidant of the Prince of Yen, and even the prince needs to retreat 3 points when he sees him. Xianbin was not surprised by Qian Yuxia's visit. After being led to the backyard by the fierce chaos, he changed his attire and headed towards the backyard. Is the visit of the Prime Minister due to the Emperor's will? Stepping into the backyard, Xianbin hurriedly arrived at the pavilion where Qian Yuxia was sitting. Due to his bad foot, this move looked quite awkward. Crown Prince Xianbin, don't worry. If there are any more mistakes, Qianyu Shavings won't be able to explain them to the King of Yen and the Black Queen. Qian Yuxia stepped forward and supported Xianbin, speaking with a playful tone. The Prime Minister's words have become more important. Xianbin sat down supported by 1,000 jade shavings, but his expression still showed some nervousness and unease. This scene fell in the eyes of Qian Yuxie, and he only shook his head in his heart. Over the years, he had dealings with all the princes of the forest prison, including outstanding ones such as the 4th Prince Xian Tong, the 8th Prince Xuanli, the 9th Prince Zunmi, and the 8th Prince Xianshao. The other princes, although flawed, also have one or two merits, except for the crown prince Xian Bin in front of them as the eldest son of the king of Yan. Xian Bin had a natural advantage that other princes could not match, but his weak and benevolent personality made the king of Yan dislike him. And this prince seems to have no intention of self-change. After being assassinated this time, he remained in seclusion for 3 months, showing a strong sense of estrangement from the courtiers and his brothers. It seems that someone is about to be eliminated before the competition for the supreme position officially begins. However, this kind of Xian Bin is suitable for the control of the Black Queen, and it is only beneficial for the cooperation between the two. I'm here for 2 things, one private and one public. Let me settle my personal matters first. After speaking, Qian Yuxie patted his palm twice, and the attendant behind him immediately removed the wooden box he carried with him and placed it on the stone table between the two. Prime Minister, this is. Qian Yuxie came here, on the one hand, to run errands for Haihu. As she spoke, Qian Yuxie had opened the wooden box and saw a deep blue golden embroidered cane lying quietly inside, complementing the color scheme of Xuanbin's usual attire. Recently, He Ho assisted the King of Yan in managing government affairs and was unable to escape. However, she was always concerned about the condition of the crown prince and specially ordered a craftsman to create a cane called Ascending the Dragon, for the crown prince's daily travel. He Ho put in a lot of effort, and even if she didn't say anything, the crown prince's heart was clear. Yes. Upon hearing this, Xian Bin's excited expression flashed across his face. He slowly reached out to the wooden box, but paused in mid-air. After calming down his emotions, Xian Bin just looked at Qian Yuxie again and sighed. Sorry, it was Xian Bin who lost his composure. Qian Yuxie chuckled lightly again and said, the true feelings of the crown prince have been revealed. How could you be impolite? The friendship between the crown prince and me in the dark, let alone the crown prince. Even as an observer, I cannot help but be moved. The momentary excitement made Guo Xiangjin laugh. Xian Bin slowly closed the wooden box and placed it in front of him, but he didn't want to let go anymore. Qian Yuxie saw this scene in her eyes, and her evaluation of Xian Bin was a bit lower. A prince with a temperament is destined to struggle to survive in this bloody competition for the throne. In the eyes of Qian Yuxie, Xian Bin was like this, and so was the 18 crown prince Xianshao. However, in the eyes of Qian Yuxie, Xian Bin was weak and perhaps stable without arguing, but Xianshao was arrogant and relied on without preparation, hasty but less strategic. All right, once the private matter is over, it's official business. When it comes to official matters, Qian Yuxie also restrained her expression and became serious. A few months ago, at the Galo Palace, the King of Hell conferred 4 princes and ordered me to select fiefs and auxiliary officials for each prince. Now that the affairs of the 4 princes, 9 princes, and 18 princes have been completed, only the eldest prince has been unable to come and report due to previous events. As for the fiefdom, it should be presided over by the Prime Minister, Xian Bin said. The Prime Minister is not only a close retainer of his father, but also a high-ranking official in the forest and prison. Xian Bin believed in the Prime Minister. Qian Yuxie thanked the Crown Prince for his trust. Qian Yuxie nodded. Besides that, he is also the Crown Prince's assistant minister. I wonder if the Crown Prince has a suitable candidate. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Journey with charts and difficulties, moving forward only knowing yourself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Journey with charts and difficulties, moving forward only knowing yourself. Throughout the long years of the Black Sea Forest Prison, countless traditions have been left behind from ancient times to the present day, such as the appointment of the heir of the King of Hell, the prophecy of the divine mind steel, and the previously mentioned Xiangtu list by the King of Hell. When the successive kings of the underworld identified their successors, their divine thoughts would also comment on talented individuals and scholars throughout the entire Black Sea Forest prison, compile them into a book, and rank their strengths and weaknesses, forming the Xiangtu list. These people are the future members of the Crown Prince's team, among which the top-ranked Prime Minister of the Black Sea Forest prison is the future Prime Minister, while the rest are scattered to various positions in the Black Sea Forest prison. Since ancient times, Shenxi has never made any mistakes, and all the top-ranked prime ministers have been the pillars of the Dragon and Phoenix Kingdom among the people. Even the remaining can be called heroes for a time. But now that his spiritual state has been lost for a long time, the King of Yen has changed his tradition and appointed 4 princes. The King of Yen has reopened the old list and selected auxiliary ministers for each prince, which seems to be a helpless move. That's weird. After joining the ranks of various princes, the greatest role of these hidden old courtiers of the King of Yen was to arch fire. It is said that literati are inferior to each other, and those who leave a name on the list of influential figures are even more obvious about this. Looking at 1,000 jade shards below one person and 10,000 above 10,000 people, how can they be convinced? If you want to prove that you are stronger than 1,000 jade chips, then personally supporting a crown prince to fight out of the bloody competition among the 4 princes and ascend to the position of the King of Hell is undoubtedly the most convincing way. In the history of the forest prison, you will inevitably leave a vivid mark. The move of the King of Hell seemed to have done nothing, but in fact, he had already calculated the thoughts of the entire court thoroughly. With a whip called power, countless people died for it. Although he was in prison, the situation in the Black Sea Forest prison never exceeded his control. The Grand Prince. Sorry, Xianbin has lost his composure again. Facing the gaze of Qian Yuxie, Xianbin slowly restrained his thoughts. To be honest, Xianbin's interest in those people on the Xiangtu list is not very high. After all, the top spot has already been sitting in front of him, and from the current situation, there is no possibility of being recruited. As for the people around him, although they are not bad, compared to the truly top talents in the 3 kingdoms, it is probably the difference between the reclining dragon and phoenix chicks and the Guatu of Fengji. But if you refuse directly, it may backfire, and it's better, no problem. Qian Yuxie pushed a scroll tied with a rope in front of Xianbin, which was the Xiangtu Bang written by Shenxi. Thank you very much. Xianbin slowly opened it and saw one name after another written in hot gold on the black silk cloth. The first thing that caught his eye was Qian Yu Shavings, but the name had been crossed off by a cinnabar, indicating that he had been hired. And when Xianbin saw the second name immediately following Qian Yuxie, he was somewhat surprised and couldn't help but be taken aback. However, upon closer consideration, he realized that there was nothing wrong with it. How can a person without comparable abilities be called a sage by the King of Yen and receive a whip from the King of Yen as his official? Unfortunately, this name was also crossed out by a red pen a long time ago. Later on, Xianbin saw several familiar names on it, such as Shenzai Zai and Mo Yixiang. The names of these 2 people were also crossed out, and there were no other people Xianbin knew. The Crown Prince needs Qian Yuxie to introduce the remaining people on the list. Qian Yuxie also noticed Xianbin's gaze and only paused for a moment on a few names, most of which were slightly ignored. Xianbin shook his head and made a bitter smile. All the famous scholars on the list are dragons and phoenixes among the people. I am a disabled person. How can I hinder all the gentlemen from fulfilling their aspirations due to my own selfish interests? Let's just forget about this matter. I will go forward to discuss it with my father and emperor, and I will not let the prime minister be implicated. The crown prince said this, but it turned out to be a disgrace to me. Qian Yuxie hurriedly said, seeing Xianbin's resolute and specialized expression, the crown prince's fiefdom is vast. If there are no officials to take care of it, he is afraid that the people of the fiefdom will lack restraint and cause chaos, which will disrupt people's livelihoods. How about this? How about Qian Yuxia recommending one person to the crown prince? This. Xuanbin's face still had a hesitant expression. Qianyuxi said again, the crown prince can rest assured that there are indeed many people in the world who have the intention to fulfill their aspirations, but not everyone pursues worldly fame and fortune. The people recommended by Qianyuxi will surely satisfy the crown prince. Well. Xianbin lowered his head and glanced at the wooden box on the table, as if he had made some determination. Then, Xianbin will thank the prime minister first. This is something that Qian Yuxia should do, why bother? Qian Yuxia nodded lightly and said, then I'll bid farewell first. There will be news soon, please. I'll bid farewell to the prime minister for a journey, Xianbin stood up and said. The crown prince is polite, Qian Yuxia politely declined. Even though Qianyuxi repeatedly declined, Xianbin still sent Qianyuxi to the front door of the mansion, watched Qianyuxi ride away in a carriage, and then turned back to the mansion. Grand Prince, he is just a courtier, you don't need to. The fierce scolding of De Luan was full of anger, and he was quite dissatisfied with Xianbin's treatment of Qian Yuxia. Qian Yuxia was born into a noble family, and he was imprisoned for being framed by the nobility when he was in a state of violent panic. He had little affection for Qian Yuxia, who came from a noble background. Seeing Xuanbin's increased courtesy towards him, this disgust grew even stronger. Haha. Xianbin looked at the beloved general beside him and chuckled lightly. There are still some places where people are useful, so it would be appropriate to give you some courtesy. It's really hard for you. Such acting skills should be able to deceive Qian Yuxia. In the eyes of other princes, this scene should also attract a lot of exploration. By the time my performance spreads during today's meeting, it's almost over. If we can use it to shape the inherent impression of myself among the people of Black Sea Forest Prison, it wouldn't be in vain for me to have worked hard for so long. Next, it's about distancing oneself from the crowd and waiting for He Ho to seize power with Qian Yuxia's design. This road has been particularly difficult to walk. Prime Minister, before we visit, if Yi Yanguofu leaves the Grand Prince's mansion. On the carriage, Qian Yuxia closed her eyes and listened to the report outside the carriage. If Yi Yangsua. Qian Yuxia gently patted the wattle in her hand. What did she say about the unexpected name? It seems that the Crown Prince intends to commission the Rui family to create an object for the Black Queen. Oh. Qian Yuxia chuckled lightly upon hearing the words. Indeed, it is a mother's love and filial piety. Xianbin, the eldest prince of the Black Sea Forest Prison, unexpectedly has such a temperament. However, such a person is indeed the most suitable. Yi Dongqing, who emerged from the eternal cold tree again, should now be honored as the Black Queen. Her obsession with power is far beyond imagination, and only cooperation partners like Xianbin who can be easily controlled can meet the requirements of the Black Queen. If the Yi family Qin shavings, don't worry, end of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Undercurrent of Shaoguang Flow and its Lower End Xian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The Undercurrent of Shaoguang Flow and its Lower End Xian. After the fiefdoms of the four princes were established, the entire Black Sea Forest Prison returned to peace, but the prison was filled with courtiers and workers, and now it was just the last calm before the storm. Among the four princes, the 9th Prince Zunmi and the 18th Prince acted frequently. The former's mother clan is the Gao Xiang clan, a prominent member of the Black Sea Forest Prison. They were born with an advantage that other princes find difficult to match, while the 9th Prince is more skilled at planning and quickly managing the fiefdom in an orderly manner. The latter is the most favored young son of the King of Hell, who travels around all day, recruiting talented individuals. In a short period of time, many talented and extraordinary individuals gathered under his command. However, the 4th Prince Xiantong closed the door of the mansion and only practiced swordsmanship in the mansion all day, appearing to be outside. As for Xianbin, his choice was similar to Xian's. Although he had his own fiefdom, he neither carried out large-scale construction nor implemented reforms. The entire fiefdom had no other changes except for an additional crown prince's mansion. Prince Xianbin demonstrated through reality what it means to govern without action. This has passed more than half an hour. Over the past 30 years, several major events have occurred in the Black Sea Forest prison. Firstly, decades ago, the Crystal Spirit clan, one of the 5 elemental elves of the forest prison, was inexplicably destroyed, leaving only the young swordsman named the Drifting Bird Youth remaining in the entire Crystal Spirit clan. Secondly, the 4th Prince Xiantong achieved great mastery in swordsmanship, with 1 sword per person. He selected 100 famous swordsmen from the Black Sea Forest prison and became famous in the forest prison. He was ranked among the 3 major swordsmen of the Black Sea Forest prison along with the 8th Prince Xuanli and the Crystal Spirit Floating Bird Youth by contemporaries. Thirdly, the 18 Crown Prince Xianshao, with 1 shot each, entered the Black Sea Demon Relieving Cave and fought against the main wing of the cave for 3 days and nights. He sympathized with the wing and eventually brought under his command the Ye Shui, who was highly respected by the Black Sea Forest prison. Xuanxiao's name shook the forest prison and he leapt to the top of the 4 crown princes. Amidst this series of major events, no one in the court noticed that one day, a courtier named Rianquo was missing from the court, and no one would pay attention to Rianquo's whereabouts. Xianbin, on the other hand, was in his own mansion, far away from the courtiers and his brothers. Apart from playing the role of motherly love and filial piety with the transformed Black Queen, he focused more on making friends with the Rui family through the transformation of light into darkness, as well as reading books. In the Heavenly Way Library, the collection of books is as vast as a sea of smoke. Even for more than 30 years, the first layer of books, Xianbin, has not been able to read them all. He only chooses to absorb the books he is interested in or uses one by one. However, even so, what Xianbin learned and saw is far from comparable to more than 30 years ago, and his understanding of many things has also deepened. Only in such a world where dozens of years of bullets have passed by in a hurry, can Xianbin wait for the opportunity so leisurely. Today, an urgent report came, indicating that Xuanbin's leisurely seclusion days were about to come to an end, and it also announced that the Black Sea Forest prison was about to enter a new era. Grand Prince, the King of Yen is visiting the Rui family's residence in Rui City. Unexpectedly, the ambitious members of the Rui family have conspired to assassinate the King of Yen. The King of Yen is now injured and his life and death are unknown. The imperial physician Feifei is trying to provide treatment. What? Xianbin was shocked when he heard this. His hand, which was grinding ink, suddenly trembled, and ink splashed onto his hand without realizing it. Nightfall. Xianbin immediately said to the outside, then walked into a black-haired young man with a wooden sword on his back, dressed in brown clothes, and an unremarkable appearance. He was the person recommended by Qianyuxi to Xianbin back then, named Jin Bujian Nightfall. Over the years, the relationship between the two of them has been quite pleasant, and it was thanks to the ability of Yi Lanshan that Xianbin's fiefdom was not in chaos under his leadership as the shopkeeper. Grand Prince. Yi Lanshan also heard the message conveyed by the messenger, and as the person on the Xiangtu list, he naturally knew the seriousness of this matter. Immediately, prepare the car. I will go to the royal city to visit my father. Yes. Yi Lanshan replied. The assassination of the King of Yen was a major event that alarmed the entire Black Sea Forest prison. As the Crown Prince, Xianbin received the news first, but the speed at which others received the news was not slow. Soon, various vehicles and horses set off from various parts of the Black Sea Forest prison, rushing towards the royal city in a grand manner. An unexpected assassination attempt caused another stir in the soon calm Black Sea Forest prison. As for the once prominent royal family assassinating Wang Jia, apart from the journey of breaking down the family and destroying the family, will never have a better ending, let alone anyone else who cares. Except for a very small number of people with a heart. Just as the news of the assassination of the King of Hell spread throughout the forest prison city, a thin and weak figure wearing a bamboo hat hurriedly walked out of the city. Everything was as expected by the crown prince in the deep palace of the forest prison king's city. A person sits with a hanging curtain. But seeing his luxurious purple robe, his former heroic demeanor on the battlefield is no longer there, but it adds a touch of allure and coldness. His graceful body is completely hidden under his robe, and his eyes are filled with a look of aloofness and arrogance. Even deeper, there is still a hint of imperceptible madness hidden. In the past, Dongqing, and today's transformation into He, the woman in front of her has gone through something inside the Yonghan tree. Even the clever and cunning Qian Yuxie cannot predict, but this minister of forest and prison has a 10% certainty. The assassination of the crown prince Xian Bin and the recent incident of the Rui family must be closely related to He. But what does that have to do with him? The power of the Black Sea forest prison is unexpectedly huge. If not weakened in a timely manner, the future Qian Yuxie lightly tapped on the Hu board in her hand, and at this moment, the sound of her head turning black came from above. The first step of the plan has now been completed, said the transformed black in a cold voice. The second step in the future will depend on the Prime Minister. After dark, you can rest assured that all the jade chips have been arranged properly. Qian Yu Chips nodded and said. The Prime Minister's work naturally brings peace of mind in the future. That 1,000 jade shavings will go down and prepare. After transforming into black, she watched 1,000 jade shavings leave until she was the only one left in the hall. Tianluzi. After transforming into black, his hand only pinched the handle of the chair. Wait a little longer for the Empress Dowager, when she gains control of the Black Sea forest prison. Stepping out of the palace door, Qian Yuxi's right hand covered the constantly stirring heart. In fact, the mind, or rather, the remaining soul of that person, which was constantly stirring in addition to the heart, was also constantly stirring. You have resentment towards the Rui family and hatred towards the King of Hell. With my hands, Kuei-zhang will help you take care of these things one by one. There is no longer any debt between you and us, and we should not rest in peace. After murmuring to herself, the consciousness in Qian Yu's mind became even more intense. Qian Yu's eyebrows furrowed slightly, and with a stroke of energy, she forcefully pressed down. Don't worry, if you are from the Yi family, I will also try to protect them. The things you are worried about will not happen. After saying this sentence, Qian Yuxie turned around and walked away with great strides. Original character design name. Jin Jin Bujian, Night Fragrance Gender. Male dressed up. With a wooden sword on his back, dressed in black clothes and black hair, he looks unremarkable and ordinary. Life. A person who left a name on the Xiang to Bang due to his love for stability and aversion to taking risks. He refused to serve when the princes recruited him, and only joined the Xianbin camp after being recommended by Qian Yuxie. He served as the governor of the crown prince's mansion and managed the fiefdom for Xianbin for more than 30 years without any negligence. Poetry title. Speaking of Nank, the vast illusion, intoxicated by mountains and rivers. Ant nests in the human world, with the traces of poplar flowers, enveloped in Xingsongs. Merit and fame, battle, dream and return to the place, with a clear breeze and green lotus. The sea of officialdom is impermanent, so glorious is it, and I sigh at Qingyi. End of this chapter. Chapter 6 Deep Love Between Mother and Son. Many Promises Under the White Plum Tree. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Deep Love Between Mother and Son. Many promises under the white plum tree. Wangqing Hoyuan, I don't know how many years I have, but my heart lingers in the eternal cold. If people ask me, I will bury my love in snow. After transforming into black, I looked at the white plum tree in front of me and murmured to myself. At this moment, the approaching knocking sound behind her made the transformed black person calm down and regain consciousness. A deep blue figure entered her eyes, as if she had noticed the black person and turned around. The figure accelerated a few steps and said, Xian Bin, you have seen the mother. After months of careful care and decades of emotional connection, this mother-son relationship is not so pure, and Xian Bin has long been accustomed to the term Mother Empress. After seeing the situation in the dark, she quickly stepped forward and helped Xian Bin up. She said softly, if your legs and feet are inconvenient, there's no need to be too polite. There's no need to talk about these complicated formalities between us mother and son. Yes, Xian Bin nodded. The scene of the mother and son supporting each other fell into the eyes of onlookers, and they couldn't help but sigh with a mother's kindness and filial piety, as well as their deep affection. It is well known among the people of the Black Sea Forest prison that after the Grand Prince Xian Bin was cured by the Black Queen, the two of them became very close. Although in name, the Black Queen, as the queen of the forest prison, was naturally the mother of a group of princes, in reality, only Xian Bin was the one who truly regarded the Black Queen as the mother. At first, many people thought that it was Xuanbin's plan to approach the king of Yen and gain his recognition through his transformation into black, in order to compete for an advantage in the crown prince's struggle. But over the years, people have found that the crown prince has not made any outrageous actions, as if he is truly grateful for his life-saving gesture back then. Over time, this story of deep love between mother and son has also been compiled into countless legendary storybooks and circulated within the Black Sea Forest prison. This has also slightly improved the reputation of this weak personality crown prince. Mother. Father, he is serious. Xian Bin opened his mouth, looking hesitant. After transforming into black, he patted Xian Bin's hand and said, don't worry, the king of Yen is still safe. The queen mother has already arranged everything for the future, but this time the king of Yen has been injured quite lightly. I'm afraid he will have to stay in seclusion for a long time. Sigh. I didn't expect the Rui family to be so ambitious, Xian Bin frowned tightly. Yes, this matter has been handed over to the Prime Minister for handling. If the Yi family assassinates Wang Jia, they cannot stay any longer. After transforming into black, she said, later, you can go to the Wang Palace with me. Xian Bin nodded and bowed, saying, I understand, but this time I have another idea. I want to discuss it with my mother. After turning black, she heard these words with a slight surprise on her face. Then she lifted her delicate face and looked directly at Xian Bin, asking, oh. Let me hear it. For so many years, it is not an exaggeration to say that Xian Bin is simply a mere echoing insect. Therefore, even when Xian Bin mentioned having ideas, she couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. Of course, it was more about the curiosity about the ideas in Xuanbin's mouth. Yes, Xian Bin wants to travel to a difficult situation. Under the white plum tree, the atmosphere fell silent for a moment. After transforming into black, he quietly gazed at the Prince of Yen in front of him. Xian Bin's words truly exceeded her expectations. The hardships. Such distant words and phrases, such distant hometown. Why? Why did you go to hardship? After transforming into black, the tone remained stable. If the King of Hell were to shut down, you should know the current time point. At this time, if you leave the forest prison, what does it mean? If there is no suitable reason, it will be extremely difficult to leave, and Xian Bin naturally understands this, but the current Black Sea Forest prison is no longer just a place of right and wrong, and it is better to escape from hardship. The reason why my son wants to go to adversity is because he has multiple goals, one of which is to search for divine thoughts. The mother should know the significance of divine thoughts for the upper and lower levels of the forest prison. If they can be retrieved, it will be of great benefit to the mother. Secondly, Xian Bin wants to search for the 19 younger brothers. Tianluzi. Upon hearing the name of his parent-child, his heart trembled uncontrollably as he transformed into a Black Queen. However, after all, the Black Queen was still the Black Queen. Despite this, he chose to suppress his tumultuous emotions and said, since he was sent out of the forest prison by the king of hell, he has nothing to do with the forest prison anymore. But he is still Xuanbin's brother, the child of his mother and father. Even if he cannot be brought back to the forest prison, he should understand his situation and provide assistance and care. Xianbin said earnestly, 19th brother was only 9 years old when he was sent out of the forest prison. Although it is said that Taisui was protecting him, he must have suffered a lot from the ups and downs outside. Anyway, if we could help one or two, at least let 19th brother know that mother has never forgotten that there is also a son like him. Tianluzi. After transforming into black, looking at Xianbin in front of him with genuine emotions, he felt inexplicable emotions. If he could really find Tianluzi. But his purpose in leaving the Black Sea Forest prison was really just that. In a moment of thought, after transforming into black, one falls into a battle between heaven and humanity. Whether it is the divine mind or the heavenly Luozi, they are extremely important things for the transformed black. Especially the heavenly Luozi, who was sent out of the Black Sea Forest prison at the age of 9, has been missing her own flesh and blood as a mother until now. But if that's how Xianbin leaves the Black Sea Forest prison, then the hardships are perilous. Mother, rest assured that my son will have his own ideas in the future and will also directly communicate with my father's emperor later. Without the king of hell, you don't have to think about it. The prince below will inevitably cause chaos, and after transforming into a dark one, the political power will inevitably be based on the mindset of sitting on a mountain and watching tigers fight. At that time, the Black Sea Forest prison was so lively that even thinking about it made people feel extremely excited. Before that, it was better to stay away. This step is a crucial step in Xuanbin's plan, and it cannot be shaken. After transforming into black, there was still a slight hesitation. She looked at Xianbin with a sincere gaze on her face, but in her mind, she was thinking about the little things Xianbin had shown in front of her over the years. Xianbin, can you really trust me? After transforming into black, I kept asking myself repeatedly in my heart about power and family ties, constantly engaging in battles between heaven and humanity in my mind. Xianbin calmly glanced at the transformed black and said, if Queen Mother doesn't want it, then we have to give up. After speaking, he let out a sigh, and the expression on his face became even more melancholic. Just 19 younger brothers, sigh. It's just that I don't want to. Hey Ho said after seeing the situation, it's just that the hardships are dangerous, and you're not good at acting. Mother is really worried, whether it's you or Tianluzi, I don't want to see any harm. Mother, rest assured, Xianbin nodded and said, Xianbin is no longer the same as before. The biggest obstacle to embarking on a journey towards adversity is undoubtedly the transformation into darkness, and the door to life after transformation into darkness cannot be easily grasped. Now that Haihu seems to have loosened up, the next step is to deceive those two. The next highlight is at the Galo Palace. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Who crosses the upper lip spear and tongue sword of the Galo Palace? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Who crosses the upper lip spear and tongue sword of the Galo Palace? On the Galo Hall, the atmosphere was heavy and the voice was muffled. The princes gathered together in one hall, not giving way to each other. If the Yi family is meritorious to the forest prison, it is true, but if they assassinate Wang Jia, how can they indulge lightly? The 8th prince, Xuanli, was righteous and reserved, but he pointed directly at one word, kill. If the Yi family has made great contributions to the Black Sea Forest prison, it is also a model of loyalty and patriotism to the monarch. Now, without further investigation, they will speak of killing. The 8th prince's words are afraid to disappoint the entire forest prison. 9th Prince Zuanmi lowered his eyes and said slowly. Even if it is manipulated by others, it does not mean that if the Yi family can indulge in the case needs to be investigated, but if the Yi family should also be sentenced to death. Xuanli, the 8th prince, has been able to learn political affairs by the side of the king of Yan since childhood and has the closest relationship with him. Although he moved away from the court after the crown prince was appointed, among the princes, Xuanli is still the one with the deepest affection for the king of Yen. Therefore, upon hearing of the assassination of the king of Yen, Xuanli was also the most furious among the princes. Eighth brother, the idea between me and ninth brother is not to pardon the Rui family, but to think that we will deal with the Rui family before the case is investigated, and to waste the Rui family's years of credit for the forest prison. TSK, is eighth brother not afraid of people's coldness, said 11th Prince Xuanzhen Yuyu. Xuanli frowned slightly upon hearing the words and looked at Xuanzhen, or more precisely, at the person behind Xuanzhen, the most favored 18th Prince Xianchao. In the current situation, most princes have already made their positions clear, and Xianzhen is a well-known member of the Xianchao faction. What Xianzhen said is actually what Xianchao means. Can one still be called a minister after assassinating the king's frame? 6th Prince Xian Ke stood on Xian Li's side, displaying his chariots and horses. On the Galo palace, for a moment, words and swords flew wildly, and the princes each insisted on their own words, not giving in to each other. In fact, all the princes present knew that if the Yi family was involved in the assassination of the king of Yen, they would inevitably be dealt with. However, as the mastermind, they were still accomplices, or they were conspired and framed by others, so there was a great deal of room for sentencing. Zuanmi and Xianchao have their own desires for the top-ranking mechanism clan in the Black Sea Forest Prison, the Rui family. Their goal is to show kindness to the best of their abilities, while retaining the first and second vitality of the Rui family in order to expand their own power. And the key to this lies in the charges against the Rui family. If the Yi family is beaten up as a traitor to assassinate Wang Jia, then even if Xianmi and Xianchao want to include the Yi family under their command, perhaps considering the charges and criticisms of the Crown Prince's detention of the rebel party, it is more likely to provoke the displeasure of the King of Hell. On the contrary, if the Yi family could only be defined as a position of being exploited and framed by others, then the Yi family would at most end up being demoted to commoners and exiled. At that time, it would be much less difficult and controversial to recruit, and if operated properly, there would be a reputation for being a courteous and virtuous servant. At this moment, from far to near, there were bursts of knocking sounds coming from within the Galo palace, followed by a deep voice that interrupted the argument among the princes. If the Yi family is guilty, it will be verified by the state minister, and the parents will make a decision. The princes will argue endlessly in the Galo palace. What kind of behavior is it? Unexpectedly speaking and making unexpected noises, the entire Galo hall fell silent for a moment. The princes followed the sound and saw a deep blue color appearing on the Galo hall, as if it had merged with the already deep Galo hall. I saw Xian Bin holding a dragon climbing staff and slowly walking forward. With each step, the staff struck the stone bricks of the Galo palace and also struck the hearts of the princes present. As the crown prince, Xian Bin was assassinated by the king of Yen. It was only natural for him to appear in the Galo palace, but his words just now clearly meant to criticize the princes just as someone among the crowd wanted to refute. They heard Xian Bin speak again. In this case, father has been handed over to the prime minister for investigation. The truth lies in the fact that the prime minister will investigate and report it. If the Yi family deals with it, father and the forest prison law will rule. You are waiting in the Galo palace arguing endlessly. Who are you questioning? The prime minister? Or father? As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere of the Galo palace suddenly tightened. All the princes, without exception, focused their gaze on Xian Bin. Xian Bin's gaze swept around him at the same time, and wherever his gaze reached, Xian Li remained silent. Xian Ke frowned slightly and stopped speaking. Xian Mi also took a step back into the shadow. Xian Zhen wanted to speak again, but was caught by someone behind him. Doubting the prime minister is questioning the ability of the king of Yen to employ people. As for the questioning of the king of Yen mentioned later by Xian Bin, it is a charge that the princes dare not bear. With this momentum, Xian Ke, Xian Li, Xian Mi, and Xian Zhen retreated one after another. Seeing the three princes silence one after another, the rest of the princes looked at Xian Bin with strange expressions in their eyes. Since the establishment of the four crown princes by the king of Yan in those years, Zuanmi and Xianshao have caused quite a stir in the forest prison in order to expand their own power. Although Xiantong did not expand his power, he also developed decent martial arts skills, but Xianbin there are also many princes who have followed this crown prince, but most of the news is related to Hei Empress, such as planting the white plum tree that Hei Empress loves, preparing gifts for Hei Empress, and so on, full of maternal kindness and filial piety. As for the government for over 30 years, Xianbin was estranged not only from his brothers, but also from the affairs of the forest prison. Even the king of Yan showed a clear attitude of estrangement towards Xianbin. So the princes excluded Xianbin from their competitors early on. However, today's Xianbin is clearly vastly different from the previous intelligence records. Is it possible that all of his behavior over the past few decades has been disguised? Just as the princes had different thoughts, there was one person who spoke out in a unique way, facing the sharp edge of Xianbin. This matter is related to my father and the king, and it is also a major event in the court. My brothers are just discussing it. Why is Big Brother so serious? With white hair in a white robe, blue and gray eyes, and a pair of blue crystal-like horns on his head, he possesses a majestic demeanor that the crown prince next to him does not possess. It is the 18th crown prince of the forest prison. Xianshao. As the most beloved young son of the king of hell, the 19th son has been expelled. He is a powerful candidate in the eyes of the entire Mori prison for the future supreme position competition, and also the most unconventional among the princes. Discussion. Xianbin lifted his cane and lightly tapped the stone brick under his feet, saying, "If our brothers have different opinions and arguments elsewhere, it is inevitable. But we should all know where we stand at this moment. In a place where the forest prison discusses politics, every word and sentence is the attitude of the forest prison court. As the crown prince of the forest prison, we should be more cautious in our words and actions in such a place." Their argument just now was enough to stir up public opinion in the forest prison community. If it was used by those with intentions, it would become an excuse for criticism. A little late night, how can one be afraid? Xianshao raised his head and said, "The sharpness of speech is beyond swords and spears. If you want to be strong in the forest prison, not only do you need swords and spears, but you also need to move forward and backward." Xianbin said, "Don't forget, 18th brother. Although the hegemon is strong, it is the Han Emperor who has won the world." Xianshao learned. Xianshao arched his hand slightly, and Xianbin nodded arrogantly, walking straight to the position of the head of the princes. As the Grand Prince of the forest prison, this position should have been his. And with what Xianbin had just said, the princes no longer discussed the matter of the Rui family, but only focused their attention on Xianbin. At this moment, let's hear another sound, Wang Jialin. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The king of Yan comes to the palace of Gun and Gun with mental calculation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The king of Yan comes to the palace of Gun and Gun with mental calculation on the Galo hall. The king of hell approached, and the already low atmosphere had already been suppressed to an extremely low freezing point. There were 3 figures, 2 of which were transformed into black. At this moment, she lowered her head slightly, looked straight, and could not even see any signs of ambition. The other one is the 1,000 jade shavings of the national prime minister, holding a board in his hand and behaving gracefully, under one person and above 10,000 people in the Black Sea forest prison. The person supported by the Black Queen, dressed in a luxurious black robe and wearing a special-shaped black iron mask, had no words or unnecessary movements. With just a few gestures, they displayed their extraordinary power. At this time, all the princes and princesses in the Galo palace were like dragons and phoenixes among the people, but when he appeared in the Galo palace, they all became pale and pale. Even if he just stands there, the gaze of others cannot be moved away from him, and he will bend down uncontrollably to his ears. Because of him, he is the king of hell. The Black Sea Forest Prison is supreme and the sole ruler. His name seemed particularly superfluous to him, and the Forest Prison King of Hell was the most memorable name in his life. My son pays his respects to my father. I pay my respects to my father and mother. A group of princes have always lacked a favorable impression of the transformed Black Queen, so even if Black Queen was present, most people chose to turn a blind eye, which made Xian Bin's voice particularly prominent in this greeting. Here, there are no outsiders present, so there is no need to be polite. With the help of the Black Queen, the King of Hell slowly sat down on the throne, his stiff movements silently recounting that the assassination suffered by this forest prison supreme was not as simple as it appeared on the surface. Today, when we gather you, we have something to announce, and you should all have received the news. The voice of the King of Yen slowed down, and he spoke to the princes from a high position. Previously injured, it has loosened the bottleneck that I have been facing all year round. From now on, I will be locked down in the Galo Palace to heal my injuries and improve my physical fitness. During this period of isolation, the political affairs of the forest prison will be led by the Black Queen, with the assistance of the Prime Minister. As soon as this statement was spoken, the faces of all the princes except Xian Bin changed. When hearing the news of the closure of the King of Yen, Zuanmi, Xianshao, Xuanli, and others all thought about who the King of Yen would transfer power to. They thought about how several princes would preside over it, with the assistance of the Prime Minister, or whether it would be led by Xuanli, who was the most knowledgeable about politics, but they never thought that the King of Yen would grant power to the Black Queen. Forest prison has a curse. Women will die after giving birth. The birth mothers of all 18 princes, without exception, passed away shortly after giving birth to their children, so there has never been a woman in power in the Black Sea Forest Prison. But now there are exceptions. After transforming into a black woman, she not only gave birth to 19 sons beyond her divine prophecy, but also escaped the curse of death for women in the forest prison, becoming the only queen in the Black Sea Forest Prison to have children and still live. If it were a secular dynasty, where the emperor was seriously ill and the empress took power on his behalf, although there was no need for criticism, it would not be a rare occurrence. However, this matter was indeed the first time it was placed in a forest prison. Combined with Xuanbin's extraordinary words and expressions, if it weren't for finding them too bizarre, Xianshao and others would almost suspect that it was the Black Queen who planned this incident with the intention of usurping power. However, even so, Xianshao and Zuanmi still felt uneasy. The political alliance between Haihu and Xianbin had already been established, and combined with the abilities and postures exhibited by Xianbin just now, they were all extraordinary. Once the two joined forces, whether it was in terms of abilities, skills, or righteousness, it would be extremely difficult for others to expand their power. But if they really want to speak up and stop what the King of Hell has decided, how can they stop it, let alone the sensitive matter of governing power? Speak up. Is it possible that you have a desire for royal power? Can't wait to get up. My concubine, receive the decree of the King of Yen. After transforming into black, I slowly bowed and answered the order. My lord, receive the edict from the King of Yen. Xian Yuxia also bowed slowly and received the edict in a deep voice. Upon hearing the King of Hell speak again, he loudly declared his name, where is the Xianbao? In the left column, a young man with dark skin, red horns on his head, and a fierce face, dressed in rattan armor, stepped out and knelt on one knee in front of the King of Hell. My son is here. I grant you the order to ascend to heaven, and the person in charge of the stone is forbidden to guard the ladder in front of the Galo Hall. Before leaving the pass alone, no one is allowed to enter the Galo Hall without permission. Xianbao, lead the decree of the King of Yen. As the words fell, a purple light shot out of the hand of the King of Yen and disappeared into the body of the Xianbao. At the same time, the Galuo Hall made a muffled sound, and the stone man forbidden guard moved in response to the heavenly ascension order. Xianbao had no political stance, which was a situation that all the princes could accept. However, a commander of the imperial guards who had to guard the heavenly ladder for a long time would not have much impact on the court. At this time, what everyone truly cared about was the political alliance between the Black Queen and Xianbin in the future. How to break up this alliance? At this moment, a voice outside of the princes appeared in the Galo hall. "Father, my son and courtiers have requested to enter a state of hardship and search for the whereabouts of their thoughts." Unexpected words, unexpected figures, and the gaze of the princes gathered on the dark blue figure leading the way, while Xian Shao, Xian Mi, and Xian Li looked at the transformed Black Queen for the first time, and her face was also filled with astonishment. After transforming into the Black Queen, he came to power. With the relationship between Xianbin and the Black Queen, it was time for him to show his strength and consolidate his power foundation. Surprisingly, he voluntarily chose to leave the forest prison. And it seems that Hanliu is not aware of it, is it? Xianbin. The king of Yan looked at his son who was closest to him and said, "Now that the passage between the forest prison and the suffering realm is cut off, if you want to go to the suffering realm, you must go against the abyss of the sea. You should know that this path is dangerous." Yes, Xianbin didn't lift his head and continued, "Divine thoughts are an important thing in the forest prison. Now that he has been lost for a long time, Xianbin, as the crown prince of the forest prison, should have a responsibility to share the worries for his father in the forest prison. I hope his father agrees." The king of hell did not answer, but looked at the Black Queen. What do the queen and the prime minister think? After pretending to ponder for a moment, Hanliu slowly said, "The crown prince is willing to share the worries of the king. This is his responsibility, and it is also his filial piety. I should not have stopped him, but the passage between the two realms has been cut off for many years. The forest prison knows nothing about the suffering situation, and there are many dangers involved. Based on what I see, this matter may be temporarily postponed. I will send someone to investigate the current situation of suffering, and it is not too late for the crown prince to continue." Chen and Hanliu share the same view. Their minds have been lost for a long time, and it is difficult to find a trace for a moment. "The crown prince should not have taken risks with his own body," said Qian Yuxia beside them. "Is that right?" After a calm remark, the king of hell finally turned his gaze to the crown prince in front of him, whom he had not been staring at for a long time. After a long time, he slowly said, "What do you think?" "Forgotten to say, the station is too short, you can sign a contract now. Everyone, hurry up and invest. Speaking of which, at this point in time, where has the suffering reached? End of this chapter. Chapter 9 Successful Achievements. The golden lock will drive away the dragon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Successful Achievements. The golden lock will drive away the dragon. On the Galo hall, the king of hell, the Black Queen, the prime minister, and 13 princes, the highest-ranking and most powerful individuals in the entire Black Sea forest prison, gathered together. The king of hell asked a question, and the sons bowed their heads. Although they were puzzled, they all knew that this was the only opportunity. After transforming into black, she was ordered by the king of Yan, and the outcome of her power was inevitable. If she wanted to avoid being under the control of black, besides wooing Qian Yuxia, who had the power to assist in politics, she would also try to weaken black's power as much as possible. If she could send Xianbin, the grand prince, out of the forest prison, it would be even better. "Father." Xianshao took a step forward, arched his hand, and said, however, Xianshao has a different view on this matter from Hanliu and Guoxiang. "Oh. Let's talk about it." Everyone present could hear the gentle tone in their words, and it was only when dealing with Xianshao that the king of hell showed such a slightly gentle attitude. Underneath the stage, a figure with both hands hidden in the bright red sleeves, almost choking out blood. Previously, Shenxi prophesied that there would eventually be a connection between the two realms, but now that we are closer to Shenxi prophesied, as the neighboring realm of the forest prison should be prepared to plan for the future. Now, it is best for Big Brother to be willing to go to the forest prison to explore the reality and emptiness. Xian Xiao is willing to send his subordinates under Big Brother's command to guide us. Xian Xiao spoke up, indicating that the future of the forest prison, a millennium-long plan, would require the dispatch of subordinates to assist, in order to finalize this matter in one fell swoop. On the side, Zuanmi also took a step forward. Although he and Xian Xiao are currently the most fiercely competitive candidates among the four princes, the alliance between Haihu and Xianbin is showing a trend of expansion, and the two are not hindering the temporary alliance to respond. Although it is not explicitly stated, everything remains silent. Father, what 18 younger brothers said is very true, and it concerns our minds. From what my courtiers have seen, this matter must be handled by my elder brother. Seeing Zuanmi and Xian Xiao both speak up, the princes who each supported behind them also came forward to advise. There was a situation where Xianbin did not come out, and no one could succeed in this matter. The intensity of the noise greatly overshadowed the previous opposition from Haihu and Qianyuxi. Yan Wang's gaze fell on Xianbin, as if weighing something. After a moment, the king of Yan slowly spoke up and said, Xianbin, you have been lurking in the crown prince's mansion for many years. Today, you have the intention to take on the responsibilities of the crown prince and make contributions to the forest prison. Your father will not stop you, Prime Minister. I am here. Xian Yuxie responded. The king of Yan spoke up and asked, what about the investigation into the case of the Yi family's rebellion? Just about to submit an order to the king, the case is like this. Xian Yuxie's voice was cold, and all the princes knew that Xian Yuxie had a deep friendship with the Rui family. Now, looking at Xian Yuxie's indifferent appearance, everyone's understanding of this country's prime minister has increased invisibly. According to my investigation, although there is suspicion of being exploited by the Yi family, regardless of the reason, the assassination of Wang Jia is a capital offense. According to the laws of the forest prison, if the entire Yi family is involved, they should be executed. The word execution was firmly stated by Qian Yuxie, without any hesitation. Is it to be executed? According to the decree of the orphan, although the Yi family has carried out the act of assassinating the Wang Jia, they have been loyal and virtuous throughout their generations, and have made many contributions. Since the head of the Yi family, Ruo Yi Mingqing, started, all three tribes will be beheaded, and the remaining members can be selected by the Crown Prince Xianbin to perform meritorious deeds, while the rest will be exiled to the border of the forest prison. My lord, I have received an edict to represent the Yi family and thank the king for his grace. Xianbin, thank you, Father Wang. Only the three tribes were executed, and the rest were exiled. There was even hope of achieving meritorious deeds and revitalizing the family name. For the charge of assassinating Wang Jia, this treatment was not lenient, and Qian Yuxie felt another throbbing soul in her body. If you handle it this way, you can also be calm. Qian Yuxie, Zuanmi and Xian Xiao were extremely heavy-hearted as they listened to the ruling of the king of Yan. They transferred their subordinates to Xuanbin's command, and after returning to the forest prison, Xuanbin's power would collapse in an instant. However, if the Yi family were to be placed under Xuanbin's command now, not only would they have done nothing to win over the Rui family, but it would also have given Xianbin a preliminary team. Outside the Black Sea forest prison, with no one to supervise him and a huge influence, Xianbin suddenly became a frontier official or, in other words, a feudal lord who was not under the central control of the forest prison. I originally only wanted to break up the alliance between Haihu and Xianbin within the forest prison, but I didn't want to create a bigger disaster. Father, Xianbin has another invitation. Speak. In Xuanbin's view, if there were many talented individuals in the Yi family, and the imperial brothers were also in the right time to hire people, the matter of allocating manpower as previously mentioned by the 18th younger brother could be abandoned. However, Xianbin was worried about the lack of people to discuss in the face of difficulties and wanted to invite the fourth and eighth younger brothers to accompany Xianbin to the difficult situation. Firstly, in the face of difficulties, the brothers could also agree together. Secondly, he heard that there were many skilled swordsmen in the difficult situation, and he could use this to hone his swordsmanship. The fourth Prince Xiantong and the eighth Prince Xuanli were among the three great swords of the forest prison. Xuanli accompanied the Prince of Yen to advise on government affairs for many years, and only withdrew from the court after the crown prince's appointment was settled. Upon hearing that Xianbin wanted to take these two people to the brink of suffering, Xianshao and Zuanmi were both surprised. In their view, Xuanbin's actions were nothing more than dividing power between the two. The King of Hell looked at Xiantong and Xuanli, but beneath his mask, he couldn't see any anger or change in tone. Xiantong and Xuanli, what do you think? Xiantong, but by the decree of his father, Xiantong bent slightly and said in a deep voice. The same goes for Xuanli. Xuanli continued with Xuantong's words. Okay, said the King of Hell with no sadness or joy, then you two go, and the fiefdom under your name will be directly managed by the royal city. You can return it after you two return. Xiantong, lead the decree of the King of Yen. Xuanli, lead the decree of the King of Yen. The dust settled and the work was completed. Xianbin looked at the scene before him and breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Starting from his entry into the royal city, he embarked on his plan. After a while, the backyard transformed into black and used Tianluzi as bait to exchange for the assistance of the Black Queen. The pressure on the princes in the Galo Palace is aimed at arousing their anxiety and making them the driving force behind this matter. Everything that followed came naturally. Even if the King of Yen did not propose a pardon for the Rui family, he would take the initiative to do so. With the relationship between the Prime Minister Qianyuxi and the Rui family, he would definitely assist in this matter from a side perspective. As for Xiantong and Xuanli, it was mostly just a casual move by Xianbin. Whether the two agreed to enter the difficult situation together or not had little impact on the overall situation. However, with their participation, Xianbin would have more chips for subsequent actions in the difficult situation. Based on Xianbin's speculation, both Xianming and Xianshao will soon return to their senses, but the edict of the King of Yen has been issued, and the situation has been resolved. Even if one intends to renege, it cannot be stopped. Then, go. As the words fell, a token in the hand of the King of Yen fell into the hands of Xianbin. Tai Yu Fei Jian can travel through the abyss of the sea. Xianbin, I have only one word for you, don't fall into the power of the forest prison. Tai Yu Fei Jiao was one of the vehicles that the King of Yen rode on the Black Sea. Several jealous gazes swept towards Xianbin, who only responded in a deep voice, Xianbin, lead the King of Yen's decree. After the major agreement was completed, the King of Yen left behind the two of them, the transformed black and the 1,000 jade shavings, to discuss the follow-up. A group of princes withdrew from the Galo hall one after another, during which Xianbin felt more than one glance scanning him. But so what? Xianbin turned his head and glanced at the gradually closed Galo hall. Starting today, the Black Sea Forest Prison is about to change. About the same time, going to hardship, just in time to sign the contract. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Riding the wind, breaking the waves, setting sails, breaking through the realm, returning to Hanliu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Riding the wind, breaking the waves, setting sails, breaking through the realm, returning to Hanliu, 1,000 years of work, eternal fame, heroes covered in blood and dust, on the battlefield sand, striving for superiority. 100 years of spirit, the winner is my name. Singing softly, amidst the wind and rain, the two of them under the pavilion watched as Xianshao, who was drinking alone, furrowed his brows slightly. In his memory, Xianshao should be so proud, bold, and extraordinary, not just like before him. Pour and drink, sing and recite poetry in your mouth. Perhaps the journey was too smooth, and occasional setbacks made the young prince deeply moved. Xian Bin. He sang softly, and a fierce expression flashed in Xuanxiao's eyes, just as Xian Bin had anticipated. At the moment he stepped out of the Galo palace, Xianxiao realized that he had become someone else's sword, and the one holding the sword was still the crown prince Xian Bin, whom he had always looked down upon. Whether it was Xian Tong or the wise man, who had left the forest prison for a long time, the sense of defeat he brought to Xianxiao was far less than this time. Master. The ever-changing temperament, just like the ever-changing celestial phenomena, the god is unclear, but can clearly see the person in front of him. The god is silent, just as always, holding a feather fan in one hand and retreating to the side. Sure, it's been a long time since I've lost so badly. Even when facing the saying, Tai Sui, I never felt such a sense of defeat. It seems that it was too long of smoothness that made me numb. God was right behind Xianxiao, saying nothing. With his understanding of Xianxiao, he didn't need to say anything at this moment, just listen quietly. This move was just right, it alerted me and made me understand what it means to hide deep and not reveal. At this point, I also want to thank Big Brother, Xianxiao said as he looked at the wind and rain outside the pavilion. Raising the Kirin pattern cup in his hand, Xianxiao faced the wind and rain, and the wine in the jar had already bottomed out. This was the last cup. This game, Xianxiao has learned. You are in dire straits, and I am stationed in the forest prison. Xianxiao sincerely looks forward to the next round between you and me. Xian Bin, Xian Bin. In the gloomy palace, Xian Mi looked at the overturned Kuan fish in the pool, and his face under the pitch-black cloak looked particularly cold. I thought Xianxiao was my biggest competitor, but I never thought that you, the elder brother who has been hidden in the crown prince's mansion, are truly hidden and undisclosed. He was originally a person who couldn't be more pleased or angry than Xianxiao, and his mind was more profound than Xuanxiao's. Therefore, after realizing that he had been calculated, his face didn't show it, but his anger was even stronger than Xuanxiao's. Master, said Zuanmi's assistant minister, who stepped into the palace at the end of the night. Although she had not served under Zuanmi's command for a long time, she also knew that Zuanmi's temperament could make him so angry. Xuanbin's behavior was truly unexpected, and it was also a subordinate's oversight that he failed to realize that his weak and reclusive appearance over the past 30 years was all disguised. This is not your responsibility. Xian Mi looked at the fish in the pond and shook his head slowly. If he loses, it's a loss. If he finds it, it's a loss. Xian Bin thought he could easily develop his power by going to adversity, but he forgot that the stronghold of the Gaoxiang tribe was in dire straits. He couldn't have stood firm and found it so easily. I understand. I will be summoned to the Gaoxiang tribe later. The Black Queen is in power, and Xian Tong and Xian Bin are heading to a difficult situation. 18 younger brothers, then the only winner left is between you and me. Facing the high cliffs of the sea, beneath it lies a rolling torrent that rises against the tide. Amidst the misty mist, the sea of waves churns like a dragon dancing, and at the end, one can see a vast expanse. Negative sword, wielding sword, a person with a sword heart, a person with a beautiful sword sound, watching the towering tide in front of them, letting their sleeves and red hair be blown by the waves and wind, just quietly looking at the abyss against the sea in front of them. Big Brother knows that you have no intention of engaging in internal struggles within the forest prison, and he also does not want you to be tainted by the power struggles of the forest prison. Just now, he invited you to accompany him in the difficult situation. When you reach the difficult situation, you can follow your true intention, discuss swords, ask swords, and listen to swords. But don't forget, if there are any difficulties or unpleasant situations, come find Big Brother. The hand in his sleeve gently grasped. It was the first time in his life that he felt the warmth of so-called blood and family ties. Xian Tong looked at the storm in front of him for a long time. I didn't expect you to come so early. Xuanli was still in the silver and white attire, but Xian Tong turned his head and saw an unexpected third person behind Xuanli. The black and purple color appeared luxurious and profound, and the eyes that looked at Xian Tong were filled with infinite alienation and indifference. Fourth brother, there's no need to look at me like this, Xian Ke said indifferently. I'm just here to see Xuanli off. As one of the few princes who did not stand on either side, Xian Ke only had a deep friendship with Xianli. If it were not for the Yen king's seclusion, he would have applied for this journey of suffering, along with Xianli. Xian Tong didn't say anything, just nodded and continued to watch the tide, waiting for the people to come. After a moment, Xianli and Xian Tong raised their eyebrows slightly at the same time. Coming the sound of the wind and the sound of the tide revealed a towering and magnificent ship, displaying its king's flag high. Despite the countless waves hitting it, its majestic power remained unshakable. The dusty king of hell rode on Mount Tai's flying boat, recreating the realm of the forest and prison, riding the wind and waves to cross the abyss of the sea. It's because Xian Bin arrived late and called him fourth brother and eighth brother Jiuho. Xian Bin stood at the bow of the ship, with two fierce generals behind him, fierce and panicked, and fierce and chaotic. The higher and deeper the sound, the clearer it can be heard in the ears of three people, fully demonstrating the solid foundation of Xian Bin. It seems that Big Brother is indeed hidden and not exposed, Xian Ke said coldly. You should be careful during your journey in adversity. Although he was not named, Xuanli knew it for himself. The eldest and fourth brothers have all left, and the struggle between the 18th and 9th brothers will inevitably become more intense. You must also be careful. Don't worry. After Xian Ke finished speaking, he bowed to Xian Bin from a distance on the flying cliff of Taiyu. Regardless of whether Xian Bin saw it or not, he turned into a black feather and scattered in the wind. Subsequently, Xianli and Xian Tong exchanged a glance and jumped down the high cliff. Xian Tong also urged the command key of Zhong Taiyu and saw the giant ship, weighing tens of thousands of tons, rising into the air. Xianli and Xian Tong landed steadily on the deck. For the future, it's up to the fourth and eighth younger brothers. Xian Bin turned around and looked behind him. As both members of the forest prison, you don't need to be polite, Big Brother, said Xuanli Langran. Xian Tong still nodded slowly, but he could feel the firmness in it. Everything is ready. Xian Bin Yun held the command key in his hand, the flag of the King of Yen moved, and Taiyu flew up against the trend, making no progress. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in dire straits. Under the wind of 90,000 miles, in the southern Ming, I set sail in the vast sea while the sky was clear. The beautiful sun shines on the golden gulls floating on the boat, and the shallow waves and fast sails around the mountains are flat. Flying boats gather guests in the same robe, gathering their breath and their eyes to follow the waves. The young man smiled and talked about the meaning of Lingyun, just as the dragon was crossing the ocean. In dire straits, SY boys team up to debut. Thank you, Taoist friend. Clouds hanging from the sky, ink leaning towards the pond, and a tearful reward at the corner of the mouth. Thank you to Taoist friends. Lu Dao Luo Li Kong, Tian Di Bu Bu Ku Tsang Jing Ren Luo Bai, Xian Jin's monthly pass. End of this chapter.